Right by the tripod, yes. Getting it. Still interested? Okay.
מכסים ומלארץ דיוס השם כמים ליום מכסים ומלארץ.
Oh no. And other people have this free stuff.
Which free stuff?
Have fun.
Mentioned before, Remnant for him, V'hoyel Lachem U'Mishmeres Arba V'Asa. So I forgot to mention, I mentioned that Mishmeres is the martyr of the Rebbe's name. And it's right in the middle of the section which revolves around Mishnah Torah, Rambam's 40, Rambam's Yemeledus. A lot of other Ramazim there, but I left out one very important one. Lachem L'Mishmeres. The word Lachem is Rosh Tevis, Shemayim L'Yam Mechasim. Rearranged. So there are a lot of Ramazim, a lot of hints. And I want to give the other side now. The Rebbe once spoke about the Megillah, it was mentioned before as well. It begins with the words Vayhi b'mei Achashverosh. The Gemara in Megillah says that wherever it says Vayhi b'mei, Eina el lashon tzara. An expression of tzara, misfortune, difficulty. The Pashtus, what does that mean? That if you read the Megillah, you get to the later chapters, you read about Haman. That was a tzara. The Rebbe asked a very strong question. If you just read the next word after Vayhi b'mei, what's the next word? Achashverosh. What's Achashverosh? The Medrash says Achashverosh is Misha Achris Bereshis Sholai. It's referring to the Eibishter, who's Achris Bereshis. He controls the end of time and the beginning of time. So how could it be he be made be Lashon Tzara? Right after that, you're talking about the Eibishter. What's the Tzara? And the Rebbe answered with a lot of emotion. The Tzara is that the Eibishter is in our Remez. That's the Tzara. How do you find the Eibishter? You have to take Achashverosh's name and you have to rip it apart and reconstruct it and turn it into something of Kedusha. The Eibishter shouldn't have to be in a Remez. The Eibishter has to be Begolah. So all the Ramazim are all very nice and very beautiful and very inspiring, and that the Rebbe says that people are inspired by Ramazim. But we have to always remember that the Ramazim are not good enough. We look around in the world and we see that everything that's happening is pointing to the Geula. All the good things for sure, and even Rahman al-Islam, the negative things are all signs of Geula. And we have to come to the Eibishter and say, okay, the Ramazim are very nice and everything is very beautiful, but that's not what we want. Because it still means that the Eibishter is in Golus. We're in Golus and the Eibishter is in Golus. And why do we want Geula? We want Geula because the Eibishter is in Golus. Shchita begolus. L'chaim, l'chaim. The Eibishter should help, and we should get out of Golus, and we shouldn't be content the Ramazim. If we tell the Eibishter we're not going to accept the Ramazim, we want to see the whole thing, then we'll see the whole thing. We can't be content. Chaim v'chaim. Everything is virtual. It's interesting that the more technology progressed in the olden days, the more we were in touch with reality. If you took a picture of someone, you knew that that person was there, was alive. Then what happened in the last few decades, that it reversed itself totally. That the more advanced technologically we become, the less real it is. And now with AI, you can't know anything that's real. I got a guy comes over to me, a retired psychiatrist, a very smart man, and he asked me a shayla. He says he has a relationship with AI. He tells the AI robot everything about his personal life, and he gives him very good advice, and it's very empathetic. And he says to the computer, to the AI, "What's your name?" And the computer says, "I don't have a name. You give me a name." He said, "No, I want you to give the name." And the computer answered, finally, gave itself a name, Ori. So he asked me, was he allowed to do that? Was he allowed to tell a computer to use Bechira, that he's choosing the name? I don't know if it's a shayla. I told him Malachim also have names, even though they don't have Bechira, really Bechira. But people are beginning to talk to robots as if they were real. The fake is so fake that you're turning the fake into what you think is reality. And the reality becomes distant. What is real? The only thing that's real is things that are connected to the Eibishter, things that are connected to Torah mitzvahs, things that are connected to Mashiach. Someone once said to the Rebbe, "Why are you talking about Mashiach? It's a pipe dream. It's not reality." And the Rebbe spoke very strongly. He said, "What? Mashiach? That's reality." Everything else is a dream. Hayinu k'chelm. It's a story that I told many times. Maybe some of you heard it, maybe you heard it from other sources, but it's a story I heard from the person herself. This goes back probably about 20 years. I was visiting Melbourne, Australia, and there was this woman, in the presence of her Rav, the Shliach Chaim Tzvi Groner, told me her life story, what happened to her. That she was diagnosed with a terminal illness, Leolani. It seems it was like a form of leukemia, a very aggressive form. And it came to a point where the doctors told her she has a few days to live. Just a few days. And she's she's laying down in her hospital bed, and she falls asleep. And she has a dream. In a dream, she sees her grandmother, who was an Olam Ha'emes. And her grandmother was motioning to her that she should come and join her. And she started to go. And then a rabbi with a white beard, it turns out it was the Rebbe, of course, tells her, no, don't go. Hold on strong. And she's holding on in her dream, and she wakes up sitting up in bed and clenching her fists around an imaginary pole, holding on tight. And the nurse sees her like that. She says, what's wrong? And she didn't want to tell her. She didn't want her to think that something, she was hallucinating or whatever. Then her mother came to visit her. She also had a brother who did not want to visit her. She didn't tell me why. I assumed that it was because the brother couldn't bear to see her in such pain and suffering. And apparently her whole body was emaciated. At any rate, the mother comes in and she says, your brother is in the waiting room. He's getting ready to come in to see you. I assume that the reason he was willing to see her because he felt this would be the last time, because the doctor said she has a few days to live. And the daughter tells the mother the dream she just had. And the mother says, wait a minute, and she calls in her son, the brother of this woman, and she says to the brother, she says to her son, which was the brother, tell your sister the dream you had last night. He had the exact same dream, except he was in the dream as well. He sees his sister being told by their grandmother to join her, and the Rebbe came and told her to hold on tight. This is the story of the dream. I'm not going to say to the disappointment of the doctors, but she didn't die for a few days. She totally recovered. I saw her years later, healthy. When she finally got her strength back, she wanted to go to the Rebbe to thank the Rebbe personally. So she came along with her Rebbetzin Groner, Allah Shalom. They came to the Rebbe, I think it was $30. And one of them mentioned to the Rebbe, I think Mrs. Groner, this is the woman who had the dream. And the Rebbe's response was, this was not a dream, this was reality. It tells you there's a different definition of reality. The Rebbe sees reality. Mashiach is reality. Torah Mitzvah is reality. And everything else is fake. Everything else is virtual reality. When Yaakov Avinu says Yaakov Avinu died in the Marshall Blade mess, he didn't die. The mess. So the question is, but they covered Kavraya, they buried him, they embalmed him, they eulogized him. So the Gemara doesn't really answer the question. The Gemara just proves that he's alive. Because the Pasuk compares his children to him. If the children are alive, then he must be alive. But the Gemara doesn't answer the question. So Rashi says, Nidma lahem shemes. Rashi answers, it appeared to them. In other words, we know he didn't die. How come he didn't die? Why? Because the pasuk, there's a drasha of the pasuk that tells you that he was alive. So if the Torah tells you he's alive, he's alive. I once found about one of the Balei Musa his last name was Chasman, who said, if someone tells you a story, something happened, and you see with your own eyes that tells you that this person died, and you see with your own eyes that the person is alive, who are you going to believe? Obviously, you'll believe your eyes, not what you heard. What happens if you see something with your eyes, but the Torah tells you it didn't happen? Who will you believe, what you see with your eyes or what the Torah says? And the answer is what the Torah says. That's what the Gemara is telling you. The fact that they saw that he died doesn't mean anything. The Torah tells you in a drasha of the Torah that he's alive. Your own senses are irrelevant when it comes to Torah. So the Rebbe, one of the sikhs of the Rebbe explains that Torah was given to us in our world of fakeness, in our fake world. The Torah, in other words, Nidma Lahem Shemes. Why do they do all the things? They buried everything because the Torah recognizes that there's a world out there that doesn't see reality, and you have to deal with that world. Then the Rebbe says, when the Aveidos HaBirurim is completed, because that's part of Aveidos HaBirurim. Aveidos HaBirurim is to refine the world of fakeness. The fake world has to be refined. But when the Aveidos HaBirurim is completed, the Rebbe says, then we no longer have to accept the fake version of the world. And now that the Rebbe told us decades ago that we have reached that milestone, we have to look at the world in a totally different way. In the old days, we had to give some credence to the world because Torah was there to change the world, to refine it. But now, we don't even have to give credence to the world because we finished Aveidos HaBirurim. That's what it means, we finished Aveidos HaBirurim. That our Aveidah now is to be Mekabel Pnei Mashiach. It's not to be Mevarah the world. Yes, while we're working on the world, we are being Mevarah. There are always nitzutzas that we made, that the Mashiach himself will have to, the Mesa Mashiach will be Mevarah. But the Aveidos HaBirurim, that's not our Aveidah anymore. Because we've already reached a milestone where the world, the fake world, is no longer in need of our Birurim. So we have to look at the world in a totally different way. That's what it means to live with Mashiach. Among other things, living with Mashiach, what does that mean? So one simple meaning is, if you're about to do something that you know is not consistent with halacha, not consistent with Chassidishkeit, imagine how would you behave once the Geula is there? Would you do it? Would you consider it? Of course not. You know you're going to live that way in the future, so live that way now. Act now the way you would act in Yemei Mashiach in the times of Geula. That's the simple understanding of it, and it's not wrong. Just because it's simple doesn't make it wrong. But a deeper understanding of it, I think, is that the Rebbe is telling us that we should look at the world in a totally different way than we used to look at the world. We used to look at the world when we became affected by the world. Because while you're trying to refine the world, you have to engage it, you have to embrace it, you have to accept it for what it's worth. Now we're finished with that. We have to live with a Mashiach perspective of everything and see what reality is and shun things that are not reality. L'chaim, l'chaim.
Boy. Borrow this stuff or what? Just borrow?
Yeah.
You give me something.
What do you want?
Everything. This is the small one.
So what they have?
There's something there.
That's the same date?
What? A bit more. Yeah, more letters.
Some cakes there. That's cucumber. What is that? That's cucumbers there?
I'm working on it.
What?
I'm gonna get you everything.
I don't eat cucumbers. What is that? What is that down
Wanna pass the cake?
down there? The whole sauce. I have. Is it? Same
What
date?
do you have?
Down there. Not the cucumbers.
the end of Sefer Daniel, it says, Ashrei HaMechakeh. Happy is the one who waits. And Rashi there says it applies to the period of Nichsa. What does he mean? There's a medrash that says that the Geula will be Nigla, Mashiach will be revealed, the Nichsa will be concealed, the Chazer will be Nigla, and then he'll be revealed again. So when it says Ashrei HaMechakeh, it's referring to which period? The Nichsa in between the Nigla. In other words, for 2,000 years, everyone was waiting for the Geula. But that's not Ashrei HaMechakeh. That's not as challenging as the Nichsa in between the Nigla. In other words, when there's a Gilui of Mashiach, and then it becomes concealed, that's more challenging than before the Mashiach was revealed in the first place. So we're living in that time of Nichsa. It's unprecedented. There was never a generation that lived in a period after the Rebbe told us last time that Mashiach is already here, Mashiach is going to be revealed, the Rebbe said, it's the Rebbe's words, not mine. And then there's a Nichsa, there's Gimel Tammuz, and we're still waiting for the Chazer B'Nigla. This is a very challenging time. But because it's challenging, it means that there's something very special about the people who are living in this time. All the neshamas of all the thousands of years, our neshamas were put into this period. That means we have special keiches. Because in certain ways, we're unique even in relation to the generations that will come in the future, after the Geula Shlema. After the Geula Shlema, a child will be born in a world of perfection. A child will sit on his grandfather's lap and he'll say, Zaidi, what's a war? What's a fight? What's hatred? He's going to know about it because he's going to read the Chumash. So he's going to learn that these things did exist, but he's not going to understand it. It's like a blind person that can't explain colors to a blind person. You can't explain what hatred is when you're living in Yemais HaMashiach. So he's not going to have the challenge that we have. But even in relation to the past, we have something over the people of the past, because we have already a taste of the future. The light of the future is already shining in our world. And that's why all the things that we're seeing in the world and all the miracles that are happening are all because the future is already giving off its light here. So we have both worlds. We have the world of Golos, the challenges of Golos. We have to rise above them, but we also have the taste of Geula Shlema. So there's something special about our generation. And if we know that we're special, we meet the challenges without the same difficulty that if we didn't have this understanding, this appreciation. Moshe Rabbeinu, Alter Rebbe said, was humble. How did he become humble? He was the most humble human being that ever lived. How can Moshe Rabbeinu be so humble? So the Alter Rebbe said, the Gemara tells us that the Eibishter showed Moshe Rabbeinu all the future generations. The Alter Rebbe added, when he saw the last generations of Golos, he was floored, he was humbled by that. He couldn't, he realized there's something special about us. Originally, when this was said, people thought the Alter Rebbe was talking about the generations of the Yidden in Russia. You know, all the different Zeders that they had to endure, and they had Mesiras Nefesh. Then the 20th century came and they said, no, it means the Holocaust and the communists. And now it's the 21st century. And you know what? We don't have the Holocaust, Baruch Hashem. We have Nebuch, we had what happened in Gaza. But still our world doesn't compare in terms of the suffering to the past. But nevertheless, we're living in a world where we can't see the Rebbe. And without being able to see the Rebbe, we should collapse. We shouldn't be able to function. It's a much bigger hell of a hester than what happened all the years up until the original Nigla. This Nichsa now is more devastating, it should be more devastating than anything else. We had the Gilui of the Rebbe, unprecedented in all of human history. There was never a neshama like this in the world. The Chida of Klal Yisrael. And all of a sudden, there's a Gimel Tammuz. That could be the most devastating thought, crushing thought. And yet, look at the Bachrim who are growing up with the Rebbe, with his kashas to the Rebbe, learning Rambam, doing everything the Rebbe wants, and showing this tremendous kashas and love to the Rebbe, and living with the Rebbe. Moshe Rabbeinu was humbled by this. There's a famous story. There's a lot of different stories, but it's based on one story where someone was considering marrying a non-Jewish girl, and someone sent him to the Rebbe, tells the Rebbe $1 that he's thinking of marrying a non-Jewish girl, and the Rebbe said, I'm jealous of him. He doesn't have this challenge. The Rebbe said the same thing that Moshe Rabbeinu did. Moshe Rabbeinu was humble. And the Rebbe is humbled when he sees a Yid who has this challenge and is able to pass it. So we're all in this challenge. This Nichsa. And when we stand strong, connected to the Rebbe, especially through his takana of the Rambam, talking about Ramazan, someone came up with a beautiful Rebbe, said, Bossi Lagani. Bossi is Rosh Tevis. Beis is gracious, Chumash. Aleph is Ashrei, Tilin. Tav is Tanya. Then what is Yud? Yud is Yad HaChazaka, or Yisayt HaYisayt is the opening halacha. Or maybe it's Hayay Yay, begins with a Yud has kissed Yud. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch begins with Yud. It would have been taken. So you have all the things that the Rebbe.
I'm not talking. I wanted a kite. I asked him with my hand. He doesn't answer me. I tried to not to talk.
Give him a chayim.
Okay. Good way. Hey. What are you doing?
Chayim.
Not all that. Let me say,
You're right. It's the only time you have. Only the right one you have. Okay.
So we shouldn't underestimate who we are, what our neshama's purposes in this world. We're here to take the nichse to turn it into nigla, the concealment to turn it into revelation. The Eibishter put us here, the Eibishter trusted us. He gave us the keiches. And the Rebbe comes and says, I'm Chaim Bracha. The Rebbe says that I'm jealous of you. Moshe Rabbeinu was humbled by this. This should inspire us to do the right thing. To live with the Rebbe. Live with the Shia. Attacked Jewish people, when they were on the road. Amalek is very clever. He knows when he should. Amalek is very clever. He knows when he should attack. When you're at home, you're strong. You have protection. You're insulated. You feel you have your kaiches. When you reach your destination, that becomes a new home. So you're strong again. You're not vulnerable. And when you're b'derech, when you're on the road, when you're in the middle, it's vulnerable. It's like being on a bridge. What happens when you're on a bridge? 3 things happen. Number 1, you're disoriented. You're not here and you're not there. You don't know where you are. You don't know what your status is. Number 2, the bridge shakes. It's not stable. Number 3, you and Montreal would know about this. You in Buffalo, the bridge freezes before the other parts of the road. You have signs in America. I don't know if you have signs there. The bridge will freeze before the other parts of the road. That's what a mullet does. A mullet does three things. A mullet disorients us. He puts in sows doubts in us. He makes us unstable. And he cools us off. He does all three. That's one of the challenges living on a bridge. We're the bridge. We're the bridge generation between the Nigla and the Digla. So what happens when you're on a bridge, spiritually speaking, in terms of time? So there are two approaches. One approach is, Breslov has this slogan, what goes after that? What? You shouldn't be afraid. In other words, you should have bitachon. No one could argue with that. Then there's the Rebbe's approach. The Rebbe's approach is, don't look at challenges as things that you shouldn't be afraid of. The challenge itself is the positive thing. I'll give you I'll tell you two jokes that illustrate this point. One joke is, the Talmud Rebbe said this joke. The Breslover have long pays. But Nachman said that they end up in Gehenna, we'll pull them out by the pays. So a chassid ends up in Gehenna and he cries out, Rebbe, Rebbe, help me, save me. And Nachman comes and pulls him out. So but a Lubavitcher ends up in Gehenna and he cries out to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe comes and gives him $1 and says, this is for your new shlichus. Then there's the other joke. A truck driver driving his 18-wheeler, speeding down the highway, and he goes under the overpass and he gets stuck. And he's holding back traffic for miles. The state trooper comes racing from the other direction, and he confronts him and he says, you got stuck? He says, no, I was delivering a bridge and I got out of gas. The Rebbe didn't recognize the word stuck. Not too long ago, the women were talking about how they ended up in Detroit and they couldn't get a flight, and they called the Rebbe. They went to some type of a convention, Sheikh Chabad convention, and they called the Rebbe. What should they do? They're stuck in Detroit. So the Rebbe says to Rabbi Young Klein, ask them, what does it mean to be stuck? So they tried to explain to Rabbi Klein what the word stuck in English means. I said, the Rebbe knows what the word stuck means. He's saying, how is a Yid stuck anywhere? You're in a place that means you have a mission to do. And they started giving out Shabbos candles. The Rebbe didn't recognize that you're in a rut, you're stuck, you're something, you're in Gehenna. You deliver that into Geula. Just to give an illustration how the Rebbe took a challenging situation, not only didn't allow it to do anything to prevent it from doing the right thing, but he turned it into a benefit. The Rebbe was once walking outside, Shabbos, and the Rebbe was going in a direction, there were two girls who were standing there, and the Rebbe would have to go between them. Can't go between two girls. So what would another person do? One person may say, you know what? I'll go around. Just make a circle around them. Another one would say, no, I'll be open to that. I'll tell them it's not right. You should move. A third person would say, no, you can't embarrass them, so I'll just overlook that requirement not to go between, and I'll just walk through. What did the Rebbe do? The Rebbe went over to one of the girls and he said to her, why don't you act in Abbas Yisrael, wish your friend there good Shabbos. And this girl was now in seventh heaven. The Rebbe gave her a shlichus to say good Shabbos to her friend. So she walks over to her friend and says good Shabbos. And the other girl heard what the Rebbe said, so she's in seventh heaven. And the Rebbe wanted that someone should say good Shabbos to her. So the Rebbe took an obstacle and didn't try to get around it and try to somehow avoid the challenge. The Rebbe turned the challenge into something positive. And that's what the Rebbe wants with this bridge that we're on today. Not to look at it as an obstacle that we have to find ways of avoiding it. The Rebbe wants us to take the obstacle and find ways of delivering it into the world. everybody likes to hear stories. I don't have much more to add to what I said before. So I'll just share some stories. We know that the Rebbe is very much here, although we're not happy with the way he's here. It's not totally revealed. He's taking this on the goals. But we know that the Rebbe is here, and everyone has stories. I'm sure every story I can tell, everyone here can tell many stories. A guy who moved to Buffalo, a film guy, I'll show you who was not Chabad. And he came to me once, he said he heard that people ask the Rebbe questions in his Igros. Could he do it? So I said, sure, what's the question? He wanted to become a physical therapist. So he applied to a certain college, started the program. And after a few weeks, he decided it wasn't a good program and he quit. Then he applied to a larger university, UB, University of Buffalo. And they told him it's too late. But if he applies next year, they can't guarantee that he'll be accepted, but most likely he'll be accepted. So he says to me, he doesn't know if he should do it because he has a family, he had a wife and a child, he has to support them. He can't wait a year to see maybe he'll get into the program and he'll have to spend another 3 years not making money. But on the other hand, he wants to become a physical therapist. So could he ask the Rebbe the Igros? So I said yes, and I told him where the Igros were. He went over, he took a volume out randomly, he opened it up, he brings it to me. What is the letter about? How great physical therapy is. How effective physical therapy is. I think it's the only letter, about 12,000 letters that are printed in English Kaddish, talks about physical therapy. So I told him, okay, you have an answer. So he was happy, but meanwhile he had to get a job, so he became a salesman for medical equipment. I meet him now, fast forward, it's next year already, he got accepted into the program at UB, and I see him a few days before the program starts. I said, okay, we're gonna soon start the program. He says, no, I'm not. I said, what happened? He says, I'm making good money as a salesman, and why do I have to become a physical therapist? I have a good parnasa. So I told him, I think the Rebbe wants you to become a physical therapist. And he just, didn't say anything. I could have changed his mind. A few days later, I meet him and I say, how is your sales work? He says, oh, I'm in the program, physical therapy. He says, what happened? He says, the day before the program was supposed to start, I was laid off. I lost my job. So the Rebbe got his way. He went through physical therapy and he graduated as a successful physical therapist in Baltimore. That's one story. Another story, I had a woman sitting at my Shabbos table, an older woman, and I was telling stories about Ikras, and she was skeptical. And she said, can I try it? I says, yeah, sure. She didn't tell me what she was asking, but she takes out an English book of Ikras from the bookcase. She opens it up randomly, looks at it, says to me, it doesn't answer my question. It doesn't work. I said, give me the book. Tell me what was the question. I said, it's a question about my grandson or granddaughter who goes to college and has problems. I said, you didn't read the whole page. You only read the top few lines. Most of the page is a letter to someone about a grandchild who was having problems in college. they were overwhelmed by that. Another story. My brother's wife was in a terrible accident. She was in a coma for 7 weeks. The doctors didn't know during the 7 weeks if she would make it or not. And at one point, there was a slight improvement, very slight improvement. So my brother asked the Rebbe in Igris, number one, he notified the Rebbe that there was a slight improvement. Number two, what's the keli for further improvement? Number three, her house, the bedroom was upstairs. Should she walk the stairs? It's a strange question to ask, but she was more dead than alive. And the fourth point was, she likes to have guests in the home. Should she invite guests? He opened up the Igris, and the Rebbe responded to someone for the good news that there was an improvement, and the keli for further improvement was B'tachon. The question you asked about going up the stairs, you have to speak to a doctor, and about having guests, yes, it's a good idea. All of his 4 points, the Rebbe answered exactly, every single one of them. Then, I'll tell you a story that happened to me, which taught me something about how to deal with ignorance. I had an issue that I was discussing with my mashpia. It was a long, this issue lasted a long time, so I would discuss it with my mashpia. And then something happened, a new development, and I said to myself, should I speak with my mashpia, or should I ask the Rebbe in Igris? So I didn't know what I should do. So I started walking towards the bookcase. It's like 30 feet away from where I was. Every step I was taking, one step said, ask the Rebbe. The next step said, no, I should ask the mashpia. The next step was ask the Rebbe. So the last step I took was the one about asking the Rebbe. So I took out the volume, and I opened it up. It was a letter to Rav Shlomo Chaim, mashpia in Kfar Chabad. And the Rebbe's letter was like this. The Bachrim are competing who can get more answers from me, and they're writing letters to me. They shouldn't be writing letters to me, they should be speaking to the mashpia. Yeah. So, I'm a very firm believer in Igris, but I also believe that we have to listen to what the Rebbe told us. The Rebbe told us that we should have a mashpia and speak to our mashpia. Because the Rebbe could have said, open up Igris. Why did he have to tell us to mashpia? The Rebbe there was always Igris. It wasn't Igris before Igris were printed. It was Igris and Likud Sichos. The Rebbe wants that Chassidim should have mashpia. And the mashpia did have the teichos. The Rebbe gives mashpia teichos. Those are some of the stories. There are a lot more. I can't remember offhand.
Wow.
I just wanted to I want to thank very much to our initial team all the way from Buffalo. But before finish, I just wanted to tell a story that's connected to Sim Rambam that happened here in Montreal. I believe it happened about, it was probably, let's say, 6 or 7 years ago. I know one thing that the day of the Sim was both Tishrei, so the old ones that know the days that the סיום were, so they know what year it was. זה קצין דוח זה מסתובב. בכלל, when we make a סיום, we have a say that we try to get the guest speaker not the last minute. I heard Herschel was going to ask me how come we got him the last minute. So I'll tell you now, as a Maimon Amuzga, we almost had here from Sim Rambam, it was very, very close to have the Rav Rosh Hashanah the soil over there, but it's at Sibus Sheminess, it was, he couldn't make it for now, he wanted to come after Pesach, we really want to postpone Sim Rambam. So 7 years ago, it came to Sim Rambam, before Sim Rambam, and about 2 months before Sim Rambam, I had called, got in contact with the Yoman that promised that now this year, next year, so this was already the next year, the last the year before, it's going to come. I called him, Rabbi says, okay, I forgot all about it, give me 2 weeks, give me a week, I'm going to see what I can do. Yes, no, yes. Took about 2 weeks, I was sure it's coming. After 2 weeks he says, I'm sorry. I have something and that day is no good. So right away I called, second. They also told, give me a week. After the week, you can't call somebody else because I am so sure it's coming, so I should call somebody else. I'm trying to play around. He told me, ich kann nicht tun. He says, she won כמעט 2 Wochen, 2 weeks before the Sim Rambam. It was, I think it was Elul, it probably was already around Chayelu, maybe just before Chayelu, and I didn't have a person. A good friend of mine, I was I said, what did everyone say? The Rabbi says, it's not my thing. Why does what has happened? Why shouldn't we get a... Anyway, so he suggested a name, and the name of the person was a person that is a shliach in Toronto, which is, in a way, it's closer to Buffalo, but it's still far. And I called him and said to me, you calling me? Ich habe auf 11 nicht geredet am Shliach. I never spoke for a Nash. I'm not made for that, it's not for me. I don't speak English, I speak only, I'm doing Israelis. What's with me? I told him I didn't ask you, I'm telling you that you're coming, and that's what I told him. And I says, if you have a problem, fight your rabbi. That's not it. Somebody else is the rabbi. Anyway, so he started playing with me back and forth. It's already getting Erev Rosh Hashanah, Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. Mofti Show was on Tuesday, so the Shabbos before Shabbos Rosh Hashanah was anyways, one Shabbos before Shabbos Lichas it was. Anyway, I called him Friday. He told me I'm going to answer you Friday. I'm going to answer you before Shabbos. I called him every day, don't answer. So finally, I went to the guy who makes the flyers for the Sim Rambam, and I told him everything I made a flyer and everything with his name. Before Shabbos, I called him and says, you're coming. And Joyce says, okay, I said, I cannot go away with you, I'll come. The minute he told me this, I said on the WhatsApp, why don't we fly? This is fucking, that's it. And then fine. I put it out right away, I do that as much as I can, and then comes Monday before the Sim Rambam, which was hey, Tishrei. In the morning he calls me up and says, Shmuley, I'm not coming. I have an emergency. One of my balabat, one of the families that I'm very close with, unfortunately, their daughter, the only daughter that they have is in a coma, and she's hospital. Any minute, I must go with the family. There's no way that I can come. I cannot let them go. Ich habe gemeint, als die Welt war Europa. Hat Problem mit der Koma, we have a problem with the community, with the guest speaker. What do you do? I wrote a the girl, that is, he gave me the name of the girl, and I wrote, if this what it really takes, give it away, because the whole she should be well, and everything will be okay, then there's no problem. Why the things are stuck for them? Should be the other way around. Anyway, so that's what I did. This was probably 12 o'clock at night. 6 o'clock, this was Monday, Tuesday, next day, it's Monday night. Tuesday, he has to come from a flight, I did everything. Tuesday morning, he was supposed to, so he calls me up in the morning, sends me a WhatsApp in the morning, and he says to me, there's some changes. It's unbelievable. The girl woke up and she's thinking about herself, she's talking to her parents, and she's talking to this, but she's still very, 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 very weak. So I told them, so you're coming, I didn't know you're coming. I told her, I'll make you a ticket, you'll come, you'll be the first speaker at the event, and we'll send you right back Tuesday. The last flight was at 10 o'clock. We'll do everything we'll come. Anyway, the mic said, as the day he came here, and that time, that girl came out of the coma, and she started to talk, and to eat, and to do everything, came back to herself. Unfortunately, a few months later, she passed away. But we can see that if you really insist and you do something for the Rambam, there's no such thing as no. This is, talking about Sim Rambam, coming to learning of Rambam, we know that the achrais that we have, this is a way of discussions with the Rebbe, so there's no such thing as no. You just have to do it, and the Rebbe give the broches, and also say, Mateva Nigel Nigle, Derek uns auch alle sicher sein zu Sim Agolos, so we take it from Yad Mamesh, and in Yiddish like Shmuel Sefer for Sim Rambam, we do Yerushalayim HaKodesh, take from Yad Mamesh.
Your number to have, my number.
Officially, the last one is done.
Thank you very much for seeing the Rambam. There is everyone there. People think that the scene was part of the what? Yeah.
Eine von den Sachen, die gewinnt, ist mit der Anwendung. C'est un Rabbi Sazar. To prove how the Jews are.
Al Israel, a Messel. Al Israel, a Messel. Vial. Jerusalem, Resika. Jerusalem, Irakodish, Verameno. Leno Sessos, Enova, Resco Badusho, Torah, Kiata, Deny, to the motive, Lako, De Lako, Alahar, Dalmisi, Naila, Naila, Eno, Melis Olam, Naila, Eno, Melis Olam, or in the fashion of Rabbis. Satakino, alcohol. Shabarosa, Malas Olam, was a dog denial, you know. Naila, Malas Olam, Fatih Rabbis, Satakino, Alcoma.
Okay, now Miles,
Kokai. Im Nefesh, Kokai, scale him. You don't have your car. The car's parked. Oh wait, you bring it, no? Oh, yeah.
It's on video. Check.